First Look, Faith-Based Projects Revealed, moderated by Matthew Faraci, President, Inspire Buds.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matthew Faraci. I'm going to very briefly introduce the panel, and then we're going to get right into it because we have so much to cover. And just one real quick, I know she's not here, but I wanted to also give a shout out to Kirsten Wilder, who was one of the main architects behind this thing, who's not with us. Kirsten, we love you even though you're not here. Just wanted to find out. Okay, first of all, Angela here is in charge of the Grammys. If you know anything about music, want to come near music, want to come within 1,000 feet of getting a Grammy, and you don't talk to Angela, you are wasting your time. Okay? Dave is a storied producer. He's made $400 million worth of stuff and product and film, and has done some really cool projects like Mom's Night Out, which we're going to talk about later. Stuart is the embodiment of a Hollywood veteran. He has done everything. He's done television, he's done film. If it's been done well, he's done it, and one of his credits, of course, is The Weakest Link, but he is not our weakest link this afternoon. Kerry Solomon was the force of nature along with his partner Chuck Consolin. Chuck, you around? Just wave to us. Behind this tiny little movie that nobody went to see called God's Not Dead. So that's Kerry. And then Bo is at Management 360. He reps Pastor Judah Smith and really focuses on young people. And also is chariot driver number 3 in Ben Hur. He gets crushed by John character. So it's a really bad scene. If your mother's here in the audience, I suggest she didn't watch it. Okay. So just so you guys know, this is a banner here. There are more than 24 film projects in the value space coming up in the next 12 months. So we've never really seen this volume of content before. So what we're going to try to do is highlight a couple different pieces of that. And we're going to start out with something really cool. If we could start with Stuart, if we could roll this. Oh, actually, hold on. I got to go through this on. I have too many things to do. I got 4 kids, guys. No, that's crazy. Okay. My clicker working. There we go. That's the self-promotional moment. Everybody enjoy that. Okay. I want to give a shout out, by the way, to National Research Group, who's our research partner and helping with some of the research for this, and also Barry Sampson with Toybox right over there. If you want values, creative AV, he's your guy. Okay. Now we're past that. So can we show a little video clip here from the preachers, and then Stuart's going to tell us about it.
It's a story that should bring a smile out to your faces. A vast majority of Americans, watch this, still believe in God. It's a wow. Come on. It's amazing. Yeah. In fact, 89% of the people polled say they either believe in God or a universal spirit. Are you all surprised by that? You know, I think it's shocking the numbers are so high. It has diminished since the 60s. But what I'm discovering, a lot of millennials, they say that I'm spiritual. I believe in God or some universal spirit. Their problem is not God. Their problem is with the politics of religion. Right. And so sometimes the church and theological institutions have turned people off. I think it was Gandhi who said there would be more Christians if there were less Christians. So sometimes it's not the belief in God for the organized church that turns people off. Well, I didn't believe those numbers were that high, that many people believed in God until I watched the Hip Hop Awards. Yeah. And the same artists who were talking about drive-bys, twerking, and weed got up and said, first giving honor to God. Yeah. I said, this must be true. Listen.
Stuart, this show's amazing. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a 4-week, that's actually a 3-week test, which is airing on the Fox network in 10 major markets. It's how we normally like to show like The Real got on the same way and test the show on a certain amount of markets. But the important part of this is that it's sold to a network. And Fox is obviously a very real place to put this on nationally with 4 features as the host. It's essentially The View with 4 features. And when you do development like I do with our team, we work very closely to find out what are the shows that are where put ties is underserved. We've all heard things from so many different point of views. And this is a point of view that typically I think television seems to run away from, and we want to embrace it and acknowledge that there's a faith-based audience out there, and we want to certainly give them a voice.
So this is a great example of some of the exciting content that's out there that people don't know about. Another one is Bishop T.D. Jakes actually has a show. This is interesting.
Opposition.
Sorry about that. I actually wrote an article for Variety back in December looking at T.D. Jakes at 20. What I discovered in the process of writing that was that he has made $400 million in these 20 years of doing entertainment. And one of the things I had no idea of until I read it was that he had a Grammy. Can you tell us about that, Angela?
Well, he's been nominated and he's won, and he's one of the biggest pastors in gospel music to be able to do that. He has a broader audience. I believe, obviously, he's attached himself to Oprah and a lot of big names, other successful, business people out there. But musically, he has a very vast audience, and the Grammys is all about voting membership. So he was one of the top votes by our membership as the best.
And you know what, Stuart? I would say he's not competition with both bands. That's why there's 52 million people in the values audience. Let that be drive both of these to success.
Exactly.
Can I get an amen? Come on. Okay. All right. Next, Ben-Hur. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
I didn't make the list.
So it's Ben-Hur is the epic story of Judah Ben-Hur, a prince falsely accused of treason. Oh goodness, I'm not going to read this. If you don't know the story of Ben-Hur, Carrie, your movie is the 6th most profitable film ever per dollar invested. So in your review, what does something like this say about the state of where we are in faith and film?
I think for the first time ever, we're coming alive almost. In times of great darkness, the Lord will always bring great light, greater light. And I'm very excited about the future, but I think there's a lot of work to be done. The studios themselves and the TV networks, for the most part, have left a major vacuum. Your responsibility, our responsibility, is to fill that. And because America, like these pastors said, 89% of America is still Christian or has some belief in that way. If that's the case, why isn't 89% of TV Christian? Where has the Waltons and Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley and all these wonderful pieces that you can watch with your kids? I have an 11-year-old. He cannot watch TV. I'd have him watch the pastors, but other than that, but he can't watch TV. I'm sure some of you can relate to what I'm saying. And TV is abhorrent for the most part. It's terrible. And how have we gotten there? And the same thing with the movies. My kids can't go to the movies. So entertainment is devoid of a Christian voice. So, God does not sleep, nor is he dead. He's working. And what was revealed to me in a mighty way is he's about to do some mighty work. There are people here today that he's going to lift up with mighty hand and do mighty work. And you have to see this to believe it. You have to envision this. I was talking to Ted Baer. This is a point of life. This man is doing the right thing. Brian Bird, he's producing the type of stuff your kids can watch. You need to meet these people, but you also need to become these people. It's no good to come to these meetings, and then go home and slumber. God does not slumber. You cannot slumber either. We need to take this back. It was once ours, and now we have to go and create good, moral, value-driven things that inspire. And I'll leave with this thought about God. They showed the mother in the appropriate way, the father, hard work, discipline. I was struck by this. I said, my goodness, this was 40 years ago, and it's as relevant today as it was back then. That's what you need to do. We need to do this together.
Okay, another movie that's coming out, which is actually long overdue. It got stuck in the relativity thing and blah, blah, blah. Hillsong. And Angela, I remember when we were talking before, you said something fascinating to me about how you saw them expanding their brand from music into visual, right? And can you tell everybody about that? Because it was great.
Yeah, I mean, Hillsong, they pretty much entered every year. I've overseen the gospel category for the Grammy Awards for now. This is my 10th award season. And pretty much every year they've entered product. They've entered multiple CDs in 1 year. They've entered live CDs, studio CDs, remix CDs. And so now they're expanding their brand to motion picture, and they're going to be able to cross over into the soundtrack category, which I also oversee television film soundtracks. So now they're expanding not only in the visual audio brand, but even their chances for winning a Grammy now. They can be nominated or win now in another category. So they're continuing to expand over the last 10 years I've been there, and now they're in this great place.
Yeah, and they're calling this a theatrical worship experience, which is kind of new, which is kind of fun. Lightning round. I didn't tell you guys we were going to do this. Too bad. Hollywood is trying hard to reach the values audience. On a scale of 1 to 10, how far along is the industry right now in reaching this audience in film? Starting with you, Bo, 1 to 10.
It's a 4, but I would say 2 years ago it was a 2. So I think it's exponentially growing.
Gary?
I'd like to be that hopeful, but I think it's a 1 or 2. Okay.
Not my expertise, but just from being somebody who sees a lot of movies advertised all the time, it seems like they're more than ever. That's my perception.
Dave?
I agree with all of that, which is there probably are more than ever, but I think we started at about a -2, so we're probably at a 1 or a 2 now.
I think they're finally up for a possible win of the Grammy, possibly a nomination.
Okay, so the music space, we're chugging along.
Yeah,
We got to catch up with you.
program here.
Okay. Oops, I skipped ahead. Forgive me, wait, go back. Okay. We actually, and maybe out of order here, but we have a video to show here, which is Dave's project, in which what I'm trying to do today is there's 24 projects to talk about, and then there's TV. So I want to highlight some of the kind of interesting stuff. So can we roll the trailer of Dave's project that he's working on, which is definitely unique.
Isn't it crazy how much we can get caught up in our own lives? Not really noticing the things in front of us. And taking for granted those around us. Not realizing how our entire world can change in an instant.
Hey, are you okay?
What? It's right here.
Reports all over the country and even internationally. Hong Kong, England, Russia are much the same.
We can't stay in the city.
Come on!
If one of us doesn't make it, you have to keep going.
It's gonna be okay.
High school feels like 100 years ago.
We have restored calm to the world under one government, one currency, one belief.
He scares me too.
Guess we got lucky.
Maybe it wasn't just luck. Maybe it was something more than that. What's with the gun? For protection, it was better to not ask too many questions. What? That's my dad.
Sit down. If anybody finds out what we've been doing, it's gonna be bad.
No one's gonna find out anything because we're gonna find them.
You really have to leave. It's a dark time. Everybody's asking, why am I still here? If we stick together, we'll find out.
This could have been an ad at either of the political conventions. Can you tell us about this project?
Randy LaHaye, who is Tim LaHaye's grandfather. Randy would have been here with me today, but his grandfather died last week. Randy came to me a few years ago and said, it's my dream, it's my grandfather's dream, to do a really cool, relevant, young, Left Behind movie. Twilight, and instantly I said, Twilight meets The Walking Dead and Revelation. And he said, that's it. And so we created this movie. It's all new characters. It's young. It's the beliefs, obviously. And in the same way that Twilight works, you don't have to believe in vampires or werewolves to get into Twilight. But when you're in there, you're going to figure out what the world is. You need the roles and the definitions of what the world is. And so that's what we did. We created this world. The event has happened. These kids are left. They're trying to figure out what's going on. But we really, really wanted to do it. And this is, what I feel I've been called to do, is we really wanted to make it so that it was just very broad-based. So, and we know from testing that all teens and tweens love the movie. Christian kids particularly love the movie because they, are familiar with stuff. But everybody is just like, this is cool, wow, this is cool. And that was our whole goal, is to create something that captures both. There's been, in the last few years, I've done a lot of television, had a lot of success, Warner Brothers, CBS, and I've done stuff for almost everybody. As a writer, producer, showrunner, created the first show from DreamWorks, Spielberg, etc. But in the faith space, there's always been a little bit of this, I think, misnomer that says it either has to be this or it has to be this.
Right.
And it's true. You can be in trouble if you make something that is neither fish nor fowl. But I know, because we've done it in television and I've done it with other projects, you can make something that is both fish and fowl. It's fish to one audience and it's fowl to the bird to the other one. We'll call it fowl. It's a bird to the other one. And that to me is the secret of what really has succeeded. And I think it's the next step of where we are.
I would say that, just looking at that, to me, that has all the crossover potential. I think the real wins for any group is to really make entertainment that appeals to all. You can always live in a Netflix universe, so we can always appeal to very specific groups of people, and they'll come in droves, as Carrie can tell you. But I think what this feels for me, as somebody who's Jewish and gay and, not the person who normally expects to go see that movie, I want to see that movie from that trailer just because it appeals to me as a person. And when you get there, you'll see the faith-based people in there as well and see that message. And it doesn't worry me or scare me. When we cast the preachers, we were very, we were worried the preachers wouldn't even want to do this kind of a show. And when they realized and talked about how the brick and mortar church is in trouble and how much they saw the millennials as you're going to have to go to them because they don't even go to the grocery store to buy clothes anymore. So you have to go to them the same way other people have to go to them. And I just like that modern way of getting the message out there. And I like celebrating different voices. And I think this is a really great way to kind of bring in that Walking Dead crowd and at the same time get something they might not expect.
Yeah,
I think that's how you really win out there.
And Bo, speaking of millennials, put the ball in the tee is, $1 million question that a lot of folks in this room want to know. You get a young, promising actor that comes across your desk, you're the manager, they get an offer to do a film like this, a values-based film. What do you tell them?
Well, the first thing we always do is make sure the money's real. So, a lot of times when faith projects come through, or values-based projects, it's from people that, don't necessarily have been in A caliber yet. And so a lot of times you go down a road and start to negotiate and realize that the financing falls apart. We don't want your clients to be in that position, so we always first, who are the financiers? It's not an A-list producer, A-list director, A-list writer involved. We have to find out who the financiers, and then from there it's vetting what are the other elements. Is there some sort of sheet element or like somebody who's had a successful project in the past that is involved with this to know, should my client go and do this? And as far as it being a faith-based project, if it's a great script, absolutely I'm all on board for it. Actually I have a client, God's Not Dead. But if there's no one that I've ever heard of, or anyone at our company has ever heard of, or when I call CA or WB or ETA that they've ever heard of, then I'm likely not going to have my client do it, even if it is a great script. So for people who are trying to put together projects and produce projects, you need to attach with these gentlemen, or people that have done successful projects in the past. Even if you have to give away a percentage of the movie, you need to get associated with somebody who's had proven success to get through the system in Hollywood. Before I was at 360, I was at CAA for 6 years, and I give a shout out to several colleagues, former colleagues that are here from CAA. But when we would bring up the script in the staff meeting, there's so many scripts, so many scripts that if something is not real, people want to know what's not real, so they don't have to read it. And when they get an email back, they don't read it. So most things don't get through to people. Even if you call 1,000 times, if one person in the staff meeting at said company has said, oh, this isn't a real movie, there's a piece of propaganda or whatever, and they throw it down, and it's one less thing for everyone else to read. So, I kind of diverted there, but as far as putting on a talent project, if there's an element of somebody that's real involved, then yes, it is a great script.
Right. Okay, so we're getting back to that great story. sort of through line here. And I want to pivot to this a little bit. This is a very interesting project. One of the producers is a friend of mine, Troy Booter, who couldn't be here today. But Queen of Catway is actually the true story. I'm just curious, how many of you people have heard of this film? Okay, so not many. It's interesting. Disney's putting it out this fall. It's got David Oyelowo. It's got Lupita Nyong'o. It's directed by Mira Nair. These are not unknown names, especially in this community. And it's a true story of a girl from the slums of Katwa, Uganda, who goes into a Christian chess camp and becomes an international chess champion. It's an amazing story. But what I want to get into is, Disney's doing this, but it's not just Disney. Disney struggled with $1 Million Arm and McFarland USA marketing, So can we talk about the marketing for a second? Because we know the content's great. We know these films are great. What about the marketing? Carrie, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think marketing is extreme. How many people raise their hands here that they have known about this? And this is from Disney. Disney's got billions of dollars they can throw into a marketing situation. But we have to also remember that when you're making a movie, there's a lot of consideration that goes into that. Because if you make a $10 million movie, you might need a $10 million marketing P&A budget and so on. So a lot of the studios are hesitant to do that on the smaller movies. Where when we go out, we need to find that great marketing. And the only way to do that is not through dollars, because most of you can't compete with Disney. You don't have those deep pockets, so what you have to do is find a unique way to market. What we did with God's Not Dead, for example, was totally revolutionary at the time. But the way to do unique marketing is to find unique people, have a new view. Steve Jobs looked and changed the world because he had a unique view and a unique way to market it. From the box, if anyone here has ever bought an iPhone, the box that he put the iPhone in, you wanted to keep that box. It was an empty box, but I love that box. I got to put something in this box. I don't know what it is. I'm going to go buy another one for $700. And it's crazy, right? But it's marketing. It's brilliant. And so when when you're looking for a personality, you got to find somebody who's unique and venom. What drew me to Matthew was, he's that guy, as far as I'm concerned. He's going to market our movies and do tremendous amounts of things. Because you need somebody who's not going this way or this way. They're coming this way. See, social media has changed everything. Facebook, Twitter, all this crazy stuff. I can't even send an email. Okay? I know hit send and that's it. But these guys are so on the edge. They have a different view of it. And you can reach everyone now. The last thought on this would be, if Paul or John or Andrew or any of the apostles or Peter were here today, do you think they would go and drive town to town preaching the gospel? They'd use the internet. They'd use social media. They'd have really cool Facebook pages, okay? Hi, I'm Peter, And so, but that's the way. So why don't we do the same thing? If the apostles would have used different and unique marketing ways, you have to do that. We have to do that. And if we don't, woe unto us.
I think his Twitter handle would be half the wrong. Anybody want to chime in on the marketing? We're going to get to Gavin Stone next. But anybody want to talk? All of you guys have something to say. Yeah.
I think the music is imperative with marketing, with soundtracks, and without the music, the movie really doesn't come to a whole fruition. It all ties in together. So especially for indie films, I think it's important. We're getting a lot of indie stuff now for visual media. And because of YouTube and a lot of the streaming websites, you're able to enter, a soundtrack if you're an independent movie director or producer, and will accept the music. But you get to break artists that way. Sometimes these artists have a buzz and a big name, and if you have them out there promoting your film with a big song, title tracks for the film, then that can be a definite way to promote and get a lot of visibility on your project.
And I would actually, on Vanish, we have 3 Ben Rector songs in it, and I don't know if people know who Ben Rector is, but he's got another one song in the country, which he had never had and didn't have when we got 3 Ben Rector songs in the movie. So it's exactly that. We also have a Warren Daigle song in our end credits, and we're going to do some stuff with Warren to cut a trailer to some of her music. It's a great way.
I think we should have a conversation about watch it now. What's going on?
Yeah.
Anyway, Stuart,
I'll add something really quick with you. That's too true, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be left behind.
I have a client who's film Nerve that's coming out in Lionsgate, came out Wednesday, and right now it's actually doing better than they expected. And they didn't spend a lot of money on traditional advertising, which was print and television. but they spent most of their money on digital, and specifically Snapchat, and so the numbers right now, because Snapchat's still not tracked like Twitter and Instagram, you can't see on your views, but right now it's expected to make a lot more than they had planned, and I attribute a lot of that to Snapchat right now. We'll see what the numbers are Sunday, but so far it's performing better than they thought, and most of their ad dollars went to Snapchat, so for millennials, I think that's going to be something.
Stuart?
Marketing and social media is just the way it is now, and I think it's a great opportunity. It really allows everybody to kind of be reached in a way where I think before someone had to watch your station and see your ad or happen to catch the billboard or whatever. And the fact that you can reach everyone, certainly, with preachers, we use the church-based community and use the pastor congregations, and it was a great way for us to communicate and get our message out.
Lightning round. How are we doing on the marketing scale of 1 to 10? For values-based films like that, how well is it being done?
5.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 5, but the problem is it's becoming a little tired, and so we need to come up with some new ways. It's becoming a little fatigued.
Stuart?
We'll go 5.
Gary?
I agree with Dave. There's what you got to improvise, adapt over time. So I would say 4 or 5, in that area.
So?
I'd say 5, but also I think there was a pivot moment with Devon, Franklin's film, Miracle from Heaven, but having like Jim Garner in his film. I think, she was on the cover of Vanity Fair the month it came out promoting the movie, which is so mainstream and I think so great. So the more we can get A-list talent attached to projects like this, like a Jim Garner, we can really make waves as far as making something mainstream. I think, that's also.
Yeah, and even with that, because sometimes you can't afford that talent. But for example, our 3 kids, people in this room may not know who they are, but most teenagers know who Dylan Sprayberry is. He's one of the stars of Teen Wolf. He was, young Superman and Man of Steel. Amber Frank was the girl. She had her own series on Nickelodeon. So you have to figure out who's your audience and put people in it that they know. And that may not be, some big star.
Yeah, and it's no secret that Devon is a producer, to your point, who's very involved in the marketing from inception. That's the difference between success and failure.
I would agree with that as well.
We don't write a script and walk out on the sidewalk and say, how are we going to sell it?
Right. We don't even start a project until we know how to market it. My partner at Salt Entertainment Group is Steve McBeth, who was one of the top executives at Disney for many years. And we won't even start a project until we know how we're going to get that project to the people and in a cost-efficient and effective way.
Yeah. Okay, let me get to, these slides are not the order I want them to be in, but that's my fault. That's okay, we'll get there. This is actually, speaking of marketing, the reason this film is getting so much interest is it's directed by, it's the return of Mel Gibson. The plot is really interesting. Carrie, you know about the story behind this, don't you? Hacksaw?
Yeah, it's an amazing story about a guy by the name of Desmond Doss, who was a conscientious objector. And seriously, I saw a documentary on this guy. I mean, never used a gun, never would kill anyone, vowed not to do it, religious, totally devout, and went to war because he felt it was his obligation. This story is going to rock and roll. This is going to be, seriously, I can't imagine people not being moved by this story. This guy was amazing.
Yeah. And again, Mel has a brand. People know the brand, so it leads into the market.
And more important, he's actually really, really talented. Mel's a really talented director. That's more important than the brand.
This is a project, Dave, I'm really interested in. Faith-based comedy. I remember doing a movie a couple years ago called Holy Ghost, and it had Lenny Kravitz and Brian Headwell from Korn in it. And I called the Hollywood Reporter, and the guy said to me, wait a minute, did you just say a Christian film with Brian Headwell from Korn? And I said, yeah. And he goes, wait a minute, did you just see a Christian film? It just messed with what they... And it's the same way, faith and comedy, because honestly, people think Christians have no sense of humor. They think we're all Nick Flanders from The Simpsons, right? So you actually were part of one of the first faithful comedies, Mom's Night Out. Can you tell us, what can the guys behind Gavin Stone learn? This is, by the way, a fun comedy basically about a guy who's from here in LA. He's a child star. He's a troubled youth, gets in trouble, has to go work in the church as his penance, as part of his parole. And we won't spoil the plot, but that's kind of the general idea behind it. Dave, what did you learn from Mom's Night Out that could inform informative.
Well, and even before Mom's Night Out, you know, I did some television shows which had a lot of humor and comedy in it. So I know this space is available. I think as believers, Christians, oftentimes, I think we have, over the years, and again, I think this is all changing, but, you know, we have mistaken the word trauma and drama. We think they mean the same thing. So I can't tell you how many stories I get about somebody's horrific, horrible life. That is wonderful. It's an amazing story, and somebody should know about it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in a movie. And so I think that lane is so wide open. I think it's a great way to, A, hit your core audience, but it's even a better way to get the broad audience.
Yeah.
Because everybody likes to laugh, and they will laugh.
I want to get Stuart in on that.
And so on Mom's Night Out, which is not mine, it's the Irwin Brothers movie. I was an executive producer on it, and you know, I've worked with those guys on a lot of things. But it was really theirs, and Kevin Down brought that in. But you know, no one was sure how it would work. There was a lot of nervousness about it. Would people respond? Would people come? And I think actually, when it was in its theatrical run, there was a lot of preconceived notions that this won't be good, that this will be cheesy, it won't be good. Then they started to hear, oh, it actually is funny. And then, of course, you know, in the movies, and 4 weeks later, you're out of theaters because, you know, they got to get somebody else.
Right.
But when we knew this would happen, is the digital, the DVD, the home video numbers have worked through the roof on that project. And again, I think that's comedy plays so well like that, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So I think there's a huge wide open.
Stuart?
Well, I love this idea just on just seeing this live and bringing this to comedy. I think that, you know, comedy, of course, has the potential to break through, and it allows you to celebrate the imperfect versions of yourself. Right? And I think that's really important. I think if the only characterizations I've seen this obviously in the gay community, where, you know, I grew up with probably you know, portrayals. There's always like some neighbor skipping over dinner, had a family, just flamboyant, shut the door, and had a cup of sugar somehow. I was like, I'm not that person. How did I become that person? I can tell you when I'm that guy. And I think there's something very similar here. I think, you know, when a group feels that they're constantly portrayed incorrectly, I think part of it is you have to also accept the fact that they're going to be flawed characters, flawed versions of yourself. And that's what made it real. For me, it was when Richard Hatch was on Survivor, nobody knew he was gay, and he was this evil, horrible person, and then all of a sudden he was gay. Thank you. Like, we are the spectrum. We're not these sort of caricatures. And I think it's very frustrating to see a caricature version of yourself, and everyone here can agree about that. And I think to be able to move beyond the caricature and see different versions of people who are fighting different demons in their life, or trying to adjust, or having issues with their church, anything, I think levity gives it a lot of value. It really gives you permission to enjoy the spectrum, not just one single characterization.
Yeah, and Bo, how does that play with young people?
I think, you know, most of the safe comedy for young people is all the Disney stuff, which, you know, outside of that one sector audience, like other people don't necessarily think it's funny, but this is something that I think has crossover appeal and we need to see more of. I mean, right now for millennials, I would say the top comedy they watch that is more forefront would be, I mean, this is probably more male-centric, but like Ridiculousness on MTV or Tosh.0 on Comedy Central. But those are the things they watch, which are not family friendly. But, you know, there should be and can be family friendly versions of those things, and this is, I think, an answer to that in a scripted way.
Yeah. I'd just like to say the number one reason they polled for over 80 years, they've done this poll. What is the number one reason people go to the movies? Comedy, to laugh. Because in dark times they want to laugh. During the Depression, more people went to the movies, not less.
Yeah, that's right. Same kind of different as me. This, Bo, I just wanted to ask you about this real quick because you talked about Jen Garner being a sort of a unique moment, and now we've got a film that's got it's the return of Renee Zellweger. Greg Kinnear is in it, which of course we saw him in Evidence for Real. It's got some other talent attached to it. Again, what do you think as a manager? How do you look at this?
Well, this is, you guys probably heard Michael Carney speak earlier, who directed this, and this was really his, this is the best-selling book, it sold millions of copies, and he was really, you know, had a battle to get the rights to this, because a lot of other top producers were trying to get the rights, but he ultimately secured the rights and then helped raise part of the financing along with Paramount, and, you know, really has an incredible story about how he got this film ultimately made, and it really is terrific. I've seen it now a couple times, and it's going to come out in February. I work with Michael Carney as well, that actually, he, you know, went through such a time now, this film, I think Renee, who is very, very proud of it, thinks it could be a comeback piece for her before Bridget Jones comes this, like after they finished it and seen it, like they want to be a part of more projects like this because they see the value, not only that they get on set from being kind of fed by Carmen by this material and playing these characters that they really connect with, but you know, when they know the impact this is going to have on audiences to reach them.
Yeah. I'm gonna just trying to keep track of time and get through a couple of these. Anybody want to comment on The Shack? This was a best-selling book. This is a Lionsgate piece. Carrie, we talked a little bit about this. Bo, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say like because I love this book to death, and I know it's sort of like it's the best-selling fiction book of all time, and the studios, you know, all couldn't quite figure out what to do with it. And Phil Netter, who ultimately got the rights to it, his wife Bonnie Netter, you know, Gil produced Blindside and Life of Pi. So A-list producer and got the rights to this, and a lot of actors. I remember I worked with a company where Channing Tatum, and some other people had offers on this, but while they liked the story, they couldn't figure out exactly how this would look on how you would translate this to film. And also for directors, being a great director is really hard for them as well, because you know it just this material is so delicate. How can you do this in a way? But I'm very excited to see it. I think they got a great cast together, and the script is terrific. And yeah, I'm really excited for this one.
I want to get to this because I think I have a larger question for you guys. The Star, this is another Devon Franklin, Sony Animation, Columbia, and Affirm Films. This is, to my knowledge, the first faith-based CGI animated film. Now, first of all, what? I mean, seriously, Toy Story was 20 years ago, right? Obviously, Carrie, you said once you find it insulting that people think faith is a genre. And I'm curious about that. I'm also curious for all of you about what your thoughts are. Clearly, the offering now is really diversified. It's not sort of preachy on the nose. It's gone way beyond. But Carrie, go ahead.
Does anyone really want to be categorized as this or that? No one, right? I mean, no one really wants that, and I don't think we deserve that as Christians. You know, for the most part, I mean, movies used to be always morally good, and somehow that slipped. And I think that, you know, when somebody says, "Oh, you do Christian films," they're kind of slapping us in the face when they say that. I'm not embarrassed of that. Okay, I'm not saying that, but they use all these little tags and they kind of deride you in a certain way. They kind of have that unusual smile. I'm sure everyone in Christian film has gotten that from someone. We make films. Okay, we have to make films for people that want to go see our films and the films that reach us and touch us. Now, each person has a different film or an experience that they would like to see, and that's fine. But you know, sometimes I just don't think that that's appropriate. You know, we're filmmakers, just like everyone else. And I think the time is now. Pay attention here. Because what did Jesus say? You have to notice the time. You have to see it. We have Jennifer Garner. We have Renee Zellweger. We have A-list stars coming into Christian film. Can you hear it? Well, why is that happening? They smell it. They understand. These people live and die by what they make. And so you're seeing stars go in there. You're seeing directors come in here. The time for us is now. I mean, it's now, and the Lord has set this up for us in this way. And the fact that only one animation has been done, get busy.
Wow.
Get busy, right?
Yeah. My boys are here, and the first thing that I'll tell you, two of my kids are here, is that there's not enough content for kids, right? And that's frankly the clean. It doesn't have to be faith-based. I just wanted to start with you, Angela. Just
underserved, people want to be inspired, you know, and to bring religion all the way through. This is storytelling at the end of the day. It's entertainment. People want to get lost in a story. Maybe it's not all the way in their lives, but they want to feel positive, motivated, inspired. And I think there's nothing wrong with making music that way or films. And even with gospel rap, that's been like a big thing with the Grammys. It's, you know, lyrically driven to be in gospel versus the rap category. And what's the difference between just telling a good story as an MC or a lyricist versus having to use profanity and do things of that nature? So it's the same thing for film, and calling this a gospel film or religious film, to me, shouldn't have to be that. It should just be inspiration.
Great inspiration film. Dave?
You know, I don't know about that. I mean, this has always been the case, and it's, you know, it's not hip, it's not cool, you know, and so, no offense to the studio, we never do exactly to the audience, but, you know, oftentimes it gets overlooked, like, well, it's going to be cool to me and the community, and my friends. So nobody was, you know, standing up and saying, hey, I made Air Bud, but they were standing up and saying, hey, I made Boogie Nights. Or Air Bud made probably 4 times, 5 times more money than Boogie Nights. And it's just the way it's always been. I suspect it will always be. I look at it as opportunity, because that means, if everybody was going after an audience that I wanted to go after, that's, then you got a lot of problems, especially if it's a studio, because they got all the resources that they can have. If they don't know how to hit that audience, or they're not going after that audience, man, that's a wide open field for us to go to the end zone, and I'm happy about that. What we do need, I will say this, the key to that is, and I know they talked about it earlier, is we've got to have better, more consistent funding in the faith space, where they see the huge opportunity of both business and the possibility of having that.
Right.
Because they're both wide open, they're both there, and so we do need that. That's sort of the missing piece, but there's a lot of us working on that, and hopefully somebody will come up with that.
Sure.
I mean, I'm a big fan of using the labels. I just don't know why you're a Christian director or a Christian filmmaker. I feel like the Jennifer Garner movie, I never thought it was a Christian movie. I never perceived it that way. This is the person sitting on seeing the ad, and I thought that was like a great, helpful message movie that I could totally take anybody to. So I think just clear directors, clear appeal to families, and understanding the level of that opportunity includes all families. Because very few people want to take their kids to a movie theater and come home and cry and have long explanations about things. So I think that you're preaching to the choir basically by just opening that conversation up and not being so specifically labeled and potentially scaring people away who may have gone.
Stuart, that's a great point, because I get questions from studio execs who say, how do you make stuff for your crowd and not alienate other people? And I would say, I'm sorry, do you have any parents rolling in here who say, please put more sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the children's content?
Get my 8-year-old.
Right, I really want that. We're running out of time, so I want to do a final lightning round, and I want to get your thoughts, 30 seconds, starting with you both. No pressure. Put your genie hat on. What do the next 24 months look like for values, entertainment, TV, film, other platforms?
Well, because this Variety's article this past week that covers the story of the movie business is kind of morphing so rapidly, as we all know. I think it's the most exciting time it's ever been. I moved to LA 12 years ago, and right now I feel like we're all in the middle of this move. Even by being here at this summit today, we should all be very hopeful for the next 24 months, because there could be more projects than ever before, more eyeballs than ever before, more people are watching content on phones and everything else that we should all be excited about the moment we're in and we're headed towards.
Carrie, that's clearly not dead in Hollywood. Go ahead.
I agree. I believe that the studios are Goliath, they're the giant. But we have learned that they can bleed. We can kill them. And I think I really believe that. And I believe that basically, we are David. We need to go out and produce product like The Star and like all these other things. And we can do that. And I think in the next 24, I think there's going to be explosive growth. And we are not going away. We're not going to disappear. The studios, they hoped that we would fail. Okay, but we didn't fail. We're succeeding. Now, I'll be at a step here and a step there, but you know what happens? You gain momentum, and then you gain victory. And like I said, we're not going anywhere.
Stuart.
I think the greatest victories that you have in this business are from being the Goliath. I just think that, being the David, I think you really have the opportunity to really hit a voice here and really hit a marketplace that needs it. And I'm not going to say their names, but the 2 presidential candidates, the 2 main presidential candidates, agree on 2 things: God and family. It's a really great time to spread a lot of great creative material. And I have to say, it's really fun to do a think tank program that I never have to worry about any kids being shelled out of the uniform. So I'm very proud of that and enjoy being part of it.
Yeah. Get an amen for Stuart?
Amen. But I agree. I think this is, we've said this for the last few years, people were talking about when Constant Dead did well and War Room did well, and everybody, we're getting the high watermark. It's always felt to me like we're sort of in adolescence, and now we're moving into, beyond that, a little more maturity, because I think we know there's a huge audience out there for it. The opportunity exists that 10 years ago, it was impossible for someone like me to get directly to the consumers. Now, I can get any place I want and get all the distribution I want, as long as I have money. So that's the key missing piece. We know that there's talented people out there. We know there's people who can create content. There's a ton of them sitting in this room right now. And the distribution avenues are out there, if you have money. And so that's really the big key. Everybody in this room, go talk to all the billionaires and 100 millionaires, who want this message out into the world, because they really need to understand that culture is upstream of politics. So whatever you're giving to politics, you should give at least that much to culture shaping, because yeah, and you know, it's just a fact. It is just a fact. And so if you want to touch people, we can get there, we can do it, but we gotta have money.
Angela?
Well, I'm very excited to see how many projects are going to be entered in the soundtrack category in the inspirational vein this year and next year. Last year I had one soundtrack, which was with Israel Houghton for a church girl, and this year and next year looks like I'm going to have a lot more on my desk to continue with. But I just think this is such an underserved community, again, with music. There's so much room for growth in the gospel CCM space, and you know, all other music genres are pretty much put out there in the mainstream and hyped up. And that's the one area to me, marketing-wise, dollar-wise, that has not been taken to that place yet. So there's definitely room to grow.
Guys, thank you for being here. We have to wrap up. If you want to know the rest of the projects that we didn't talk about, come see me. Thank you.